All right, Grasshoppers, it is Monday morning. For you that usually watch Kevin Allen and I, we were not on last week. We're not on today. We will be on Wednesday. He's dealing with some family issues, so everything's good with him, but we'll be back at it. But the big show is right now with the one and only Mark Puttenvink, Mr. Fitness. If he doesn't know it, it's just not known. If you don't know something about fitness.
I don't know it. I just make it up.
You make it up? Yeah, good. How you doing, bud?
Good. How are you?
Very good, very good. Nice weekend outside a lot. Yeah. So,
well, I worked out this morning early. Got a great sweat going. The weather's turning finally.
Right. Again, just so everybody knows, Mark and I, we're not together with the Rangers, but Mark worked for the Rangers as a strength and conditioning coach. We met each other online here, actually on Facebook, online dating. We're doing some online dating. So, Mark, listen, I feel like I know a lot of stuff, and I'm always learning from people. I learned a lot of stuff from Mark, really the details of how the body works and everything. So he's been great with me, and hope to pass this along. He's got a company called Patriot Training Systems, and you can go online, patriottrainingsystems.com. Again, he does all kinds of training. He does a lot of stuff with the military. I mean, that's how we really got to know each other. So, all right, we want to talk today about slow training. We're going to title it slow training or slow motion training. Is that word?
They call it slow or super slow. Slow training.
It's funny, right? How and I do this with a lot of different things. I see people in the gym and they're doing different stuff, and I'm like, that's I don't do that. I'm Tom Laidlaw. I know what I'm doing, right? But then when you and I now talk about the slow stuff, and there's a real science behind how it works. So, so you see somebody in the gym and let's say we're doing a bench press. Mm-hmm. And the slow training is you're really letting it come down slow, right? Like painfully slow, as much as slow as you can. Now, are you going slow back up as well?
Yeah. So it's time under tension. It's constant time. The muscle's completely under tension for the whole rep. And it differs a little bit from pause reps. So in other words, a pause rep, you may come down 1, 2, 3, and then blast it up. And that's power development. That's being explosive. That's breaking through plateaus if you're a weightlifter trying to increase your strength that way. That's another. But the super slow is really slow eccentrically or on the way down, and then really slow concentrically or on the way up. And go ahead. And
so obviously you've got to adjust the weight because like you mentioned before that. I love that phrase too, time under pressure. That's a big concept in strengthening muscles, getting muscles bigger, right? It's the time under pressure. That's why, the swinging the weights around, using momentum really isn't getting the max out of it. So are you looking to do, like, let's say you normally do 3 sets of 8. Are you trying to do 8 reps when you're doing that as well?
You can, but again, you got to adjust the weight for it. So for argument's sake, if your bench press is just pick an even number, 200 pounds, I would probably think for super slow, it'd probably be about 50% of that, probably be 100 pounds. Okay. Yeah. Because what happens, and you can increase it, it's like any other strength training program, but what happens is, so you have 2 basic types of muscle fiber, muscle filaments, so to speak, like cables. One is myosin, it's thicker, and the other one is actin, which is thinner. Now, when you're making a quick movement, they slide by each other pretty rapidly, fairly fast. When you're going really super slow, they're going by each other very, very slow. And they start to build these little bridges between the thick filament and the thinner filament. Without going too deep, but what that creates is more strength, a bigger muscle. If you think of it this way, if I'm doing a bench press, on the way down, it's really kind of just inertia and gravity. Here's where's a little power, and then it just kind of comes up. If I'm going slow, the time under tension, those filaments are going really slow because they're contracting really slowly in the sarcomere, which is like a muscle sock, so to speak. But additionally, your brain is telling it, your neuromuscular system, your motor units to fire. We need more energy. It's like something needs more electricity. It's the same thing. So the combination of those 2 effects create strength and actually will create a larger muscle.
So a lot of times you think, okay, to get stronger, I constantly have to be putting more weight on. I'm benching 200 now this week. I want to get 205 next week. That's not necessarily true with this concept then, right? It isn't really the amount of weight.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it comes down to, why are we lifting weights? Is it for sport? Is it for bodybuilding? Is it for general health? Sports are a completely different concept because we have different times of the year, different training protocols, having to do with in-season, off-season, how many games you're playing, all those kind of things. If it's strength you're looking for, then you're not really concerned about how big your muscles are. It's how strong you are, because it also involves ligament and tendon strength and also neuromuscular power. If you're looking for bodybuilding, this is a great protocol to use. Or if you're just looking to gain a little muscle, it's a great protocol, because you will gain muscle.
So you'll gain bigger muscles by doing this, then, right?
Yep. And it's something you can't do a lot of. I would probably only do it 2 times a week, if that, maybe once a week, and then do my regular lifting.
And you can do it with squats, deadlifts, bench pressing.
Yeah, any lift.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. You know what I always want to ask? You know what I always want to ask you? I keep forgetting too. Have you ever done the blood flow restriction bands? You familiar with those?
I haven't done it. I've seen it. I'm really not clear on what the science behind that.
Yeah.
is.
So you'll correct me if I'm wrong here too. So your blood flows away from your muscles in the arteries or the veins?
That's a good question.
I think it's the veins.
Either way,
the idea.
Veins are the big ones. Arteries split off. Yeah.
So if you're doing a bicep exercise, the idea is you're blocking the blood to flow, blocking the blood into the muscle area, not letting it flow away. So you put these bands on above your bicep and you make it fairly tight so that it stops it. And I saw people doing it before, and I tried it. It was pretty cool the way it worked. Like you keep it on for, if you're going to do 3 sets of 12, you do your 3 sets of 12 with the band on your bicep, above your bicep the whole time. And once you take that band off, now the blood starts to flow again. And then you really do feel the pump with it too. It was pretty interesting. So
I wonder what other than the pump, what's behind the reason we're doing this.
I think it is it's the male ego, I think, more than anything, right?
Yeah, I also wonder what it does to your blood pressure. You're backing up the flow, like squeezing off the garden hose.
Yeah.
So the source is gonna. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I think it's too restricted. You're not getting it so tight that it stops the flow. It is called blood flow restriction. Yeah.
Because I do know that, like, so for instance, when you're doing really heavy weight and you bottom down with a squat, and it's really taking everything for you to get it back up, your BP jacks way up. I mean, it's just for that period of time, but well, you see, guys pass out in the competition.
I did it. I was using the bands one time in the gym, and one of the trainers come up to me. He says, I know what you're doing. So he understood the whole concept. He says, you ever tried using an amino acid called citrulline? And citrulline, it gets your blood pumping. So I've actually bought that. It's just it's an amino acid. There's no flavor to it. There's no other fillers, whatever. And I really do feel like, it helps the blood flow a lot. It's like for me,
citrulline is great. They call it a vasodilator. Citrulline is great. So beet juice is a good vasodilator. So it's cool stuff.
Again, it's interesting. There's a lot of those products out there, the supplements for helping your bodybuilding. It's got a lot of garbage and a lot of extra stuff in it, right? You don't need. So, if you really research it, you can find, like, beta alanine is another amino acid I take as well. Good for your heart and all that stuff. So
the supplement industry isn't regulated by the FDA. As long as you don't put any particular claims on it, you'll always see asterisks saying there's not been approved by the FDA and backing up these statements and stuff like that. But what's particularly scary about since they're not regulated, the thing that concerns me is if it's citrulline or branched chain amino acids or whatever you may be taking, since they're not regulated, are you taking 30 milligrams or 5 milligrams or 3? It's why it's good to go with a really good company.
Yeah, that is interesting. Like all the stuff that's out there that it's not regulated by the FDA. Why is that?
Because Harry Reid, who was the senator out of Nevada, where most of the supplement industry is located, if you do a little research on it, he made sure that they kind of got a green light. So
is that right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But that said, what really? So when I was in New York, it was an Olympic year. We had a bunch of guys going all over. I think we had 12 players playing in the Olympics, and the committee came in during camp and talked to Rammer and I and said, "Listen, the Olympians, don't let them drink protein drinks." I'm like, "Why?" He said, "Because the problem is this: you may drink a protein shake out of a packet, and that morning the same bin actuator that the protein powder was mixed in had some other product they were mixing, and since it's not regulated and they didn't clean it real well, because there was I think a bicyclist or some athlete tested positive for ephedrine. Ephedrine is Sudafed is basically what it is. And ephedrine is a pure product. It used to be legal to consume, but it was banned by the IOC. But anyhow, he tested positive. He's like, I'm not taking anything. And then they kind of surmised that it was because he was drinking a protein product from a pretty reputable company.
Right.
Whatever. There was some ephedrine in there. So, yeah.
That is amazing, right? You think of all the products that are out there that so many people are using, even especially young people too, right? That they can really.
Yeah, so it's like with any of these products, you really have to research them. Try to go with the most reputable company you can find. Yeah.
And for me, when I talk about the citrulline and the beta alanine, the big things where there's nothing else in it. It's just those products. Well, that's what they're selling at. Anyways, I hope that's true, but.
I'm not going to advertise for him, but he's a good friend of mine. He used to be strength coach up in Toronto, and he owns a company called BioSteel, and they have the certifications from the Canadian Olympic Committee and stuff like that. So if interested, you look at his products; they're pretty good. Matt Nichols,
interesting.
Super dude.
Who was it?
Matt Nichols. I spent some time over in Russia with him in St. Pete.
Matt Nichols. Oh wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know
he's got his own. He got so big on his own. He hasn't been a strength coach yet for a while, but he's got. In the summertime, all those guys that live in as you know, a ton of guys in Toronto during the summer.
Yeah. Well, I was watching a YouTube video the other day on autophagy. I'm hooked on autophagy now and doing more research on it. It's like you're always learning new stuff. The one guy was talking about how obviously Mark and I really believe in while you're fasting, once you get past that 12-hour window where everything's burned out of your body, now your body goes into that state of autophagy, which it means self-eating. You're cleaning up all the bad stuff, the toxins and cell regeneration. But he was also talking about how with foods like green tea, with ginger, and with turmeric, how they also, even if you're not in a fasting state, will help your body get into that state of autophagy. Is that accurate? Do you believe that?
Again, it could be. I don't know how much research has been done on that. And I have to also say that I'm starting to believe more anecdotal stories, less. I still rely on research, but you just have to always follow the money, see where it's coming from. Because, some of the research has been funded by people looking to protect their own interests.
Right. Definitely. But you yourself, you believe in autophagy still, though, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the most natural way is the most natural way.
Yeah. It probably makes sense to me too that, okay, so your body really gets kicked into the state of autophagy while you're fasting. Mm-hmm. But I guess then if you're kind of like at the end of your fast, if you're having green tea, ginger, turmeric, those things, it gives it an extra boost, right?
A little boost. Yeah. Right. It's a force multiplier for sure.
It is true because I see a guy I haven't seen in a while. When I go for a march in the morning, he goes, "Man, your face looks thinner." And I feel like, and I laugh about this all the time. Other people told me about fasting for a long time, for years. And even you and I were talking about it for a while. It wasn't until we were at that, we went to that tactical training. Yeah. No, it may have been what there's the swim across the Hudson. Maybe the swim across the Hudson. We had some time to chat a little bit, and you were talking about what autophagy was and everything. And at first, I was still, I don't need that, right? And then I started thinking, like, oh, geez, maybe he's got something. He's right, but I love fasting.
In addition to the autophagy, is a really pretty big jump in your GH, your growth hormone.
Yeah,
when you're sleeping when you're fasting, because you can only release GH when you're sleeping. So, and the fasting helps increase the production of GH, which, as we know, as we get older, is really important. But
so your body produces its own human growth hormone,
right? But what happens is you start to have a diminishing amount of GH naturally produced as you get older, and that's why this is great because it boosts it back up. I don't know if it's back to levels when you were 20, but it's certainly a big jump. I mean, there's talks of 200 to 400% increase in growth hormone secretion if you're sleeping in a fasted state.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Interesting. So human growth hormone, the artificial human growth hormone, apparently really helps to build muscle. But the dangerous part of the human growth hormone, it's a human. So everything that's in your body, if it's cancer cells or whatever, it helps those grow as well.
Yeah, well, that's the thought. That's the thinking. And let me just retract one second. You do release growth hormone during the day, but the primary time you do is when you're sleeping. And if you're fasting, it really helps. When you do during the day, generally speaking, is after a workout, because your body's saying, "Hey, we need to do some repairs here," and you'll dump out a little bit more growth hormone. Yeah. That's why there's certain types of training that will produce more growth hormone. So really intense training, your body's saying, holy mackerel, we got to really,
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So the concept is that the more you're taxing your body, the more your body's saying, geez, I need to produce more growth hormone.
Yeah, and again, it's a fine line. You got to be careful that we don't slip over into the overtrained state, because then you're dumping out a ton of cortisol, which is tissue damaging hormone, right? So you have to be prudent with your workouts. And basically, I tell people, listen, when you're getting overtrained.
Right.
You start to get achy, you're not recovering, your workouts are lousy, you're not sleeping well. Well, that's your body saying, hey, let's take a break here. It doesn't have to be forever, just for a while.
And we talk about the food you put into your body too. So when you're training like that, so you're breaking down muscle tissue, and then your muscle tissue has to rebuild, right? That's the process of getting stronger, correct? In the muscle.
And it's amino acids primarily and proteins.
Yeah. Right. So the amino acids, that's where the amino acids are very important in the proteins, the foods that you're eating as well, right?
Correct. So what I do my morning workout. I don't eat till like 12 or 1 like you do. And then I'll have a high fat protein meal. So like when we're done, I'm going to have 3 eggs and some avocado. That's it. No carbs. Then tonight for dinner, I think I'm going to make some chicken. I always make a big green leafy salad and probably a little bit of rice. So it's pretty low carb. I also eat dates. Dates are so nutritionally dense.
Right.
Like I eat 2 or 3 of those a day, really high in fiber. There's some good natural carbohydrate sugar in there. So that's about it. But that the first meal of the eggs and the high fat with the avocado, really important.
But and I know you know this, but obviously good fat. I mean, when you say fat, it's not like a fat.
Yeah,
like
avocado is one of the healthiest fats you can eat. It's from an avocado.
Right.
So
salmon is salmon like that?
So I do eggs one day with avocado, and the next day I do salmon with avocado. It's my first meal.
Right.
Yeah, I'll put some salsa on there, jazz it up a bit. But it's
so
good.
what time do you get done your workouts in the morning?
Generally speaking, I'm done by somewhere around 8 o'clock.
Okay. And I do hear people say that you want to try to get that protein into you within 90 minutes of a workout, right? That's the ideal time.
Yeah, I don't. So that's what the thinking used to be. I think it's changed. It's not that critical. You're not going to have an opportunity.
Right. Because I agree. Because I finish my workouts by like 7 o'clock in the morning. Then I don't have like you till 12 o'clock, and that's when I have all the proteins and everything. So I'm the same as you. I make that smoothie with banana, avocado, spinach, almond milk, all the protein powders and all that. I'm getting into using collagen too. You like that?
I use it as well. So in the morning, I have a cup of black coffee and I put a scoop of collagen in there.
Right.
So it's got MCT, medium chain triglycerides, which are really important fat also. They actually help you burn the bad fat. So it's got MCTs, it's got some collagen. So it's
right.
Yeah.
Now I do a shot of apple cider vinegar every morning too. Do you believe in that? Like it's good for your gut health and everything too, right?
Real overall health. It's really important. Right. Yeah. Takes a little getting used to, but yeah, you're doing it perfect. Really, you're doing a great job with it. Absolutely.
Isn't it funny, like how you realize when you eat? People have said this to me in the past too. It's not just what you eat; it's when you eat it, but it's also what you eat, right?
Absolutely. And here's another thought too. Like, I've got to the point now where maybe I don't really care for the taste of something.
Right.
But I still do it because I know this, for me, it's going to be good. So here, I'll give you a perfect example. Mitch Aguiar, you met Mitch. He was one of them, right? So he's got a product called Smashing Greens. It's like the taste of it is like if you cut your lawn on Saturday and you put it in a glass of water and you drank it. It's pretty nasty.
Right.
But you just down it. I mean, it's got spirulina and so healthy for you. And it's like 8 ounces and just you pound it down. And so I got to thinking, because we're talking about food shortages this summer, particularly agricultural. So I just ordered a whole bunch more of Smashing Greens. And I'm not doing this advertisement for Mitch, but I want to make sure. But I got that. And also he's got a Smashing Reds now, which is the beets and everything like that. So if we do run low, I'm good to go.
Right. So, all right, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Our old teammate, Ron Greshner, chimes in here. What is Peter Boyle sitting in for Laidlaw again? Or why is Peter Boyle? So I think he might be digging me. Do you think so?
I think it's Brian Boyle. It's confusing with Brian Boyle. Brian Boyle.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was an international sex symbol and could comment on other people's looks, but apparently that's the case here. But we'll get to that later.
How's his eating and training coming?
His training, it's a work in progress.
Okay.
His training is a work in progress. We're training him to get a juicer. Again, that's the big topic.
Big start.
He's saying that for probably about 2 months now, he had a juicer. I think he paid like $2 for the juicer. It lasted like 15 minutes. He claims he was juicing up potatoes.
Probably why it only lasted 15 minutes.
Yeah, we claim he was trying to make vodka from the juicing this.
Hey, it's a vegetable.
It is
liquid vegetable. Yeah,
it is a vegetable. There's some of the food I was talking about. It seems to be a big thing now in all the stores, a big rage now. I think it's more like, there's a lot of in Costco. I find a lot of stuff that they're using avocados in now, like avocado oil and everything.
Yeah, the avocado potato chips, like cooking avocado oil. It all goes through cycles. I mean, it was kale for a while. Kale was like everything was kale, and then it gets to avocado. But they're nutritionally really dense. So an avocado, the dates, and that's another thing too, to find foods that are really nutritionally dense, because you want to make sure your calories count.
Right. Yes.
And
like that's the one. I think that's the one difference for me that I've really learned is that I look at food differently now. It's not like joy and comfort, although I still think you can make healthy foods that taste good as well. But you look at the nutritional. If you're going to put something in your body, why not choose something that's good for your body, right?
Heal thyself. It's all food.
Yeah. And so let's take avocado oil, for example, compared to regular olive oil. Do you believe it's that much more healthy for you if you have your choice?
I don't know if it's any healthier because I use a lot of olive oil quality. Right. Again, olive oil is a very healthy fat. I mean, we need fats for our nervous system to work, protect all of our internal organs. We do need fat to live. It's the type of fat.
Right. So we want a lot of polyunsaturated fat.
Correct.
Right. Trans fat is what we want to stay away from, right?
That's killer.
Right. So that's like the muffins and all the baked goods.
So trans fat is used to make stuff that's liquid solid. Like margarine, if it didn't have trans fat, would be completely liquid.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Margarine is a heart attack. It's a stick of heart attack because of all the trans fatty acids in it.
Right. Same as all those processed meats and everything, right? A lot of trans fats in that.
Well, the processed meats concern me with the sodium nitrates, which are kind of linked to cancer. There's been a lot of studies. Yeah.
So polyunsaturated fats are good. Monounsaturated fats too, correct? Is that the other one?
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, if you think of avocados, if you think of olive oil, it's really easy to find all the healthy fats, and you pick out the ones you like, and have them with your first meal with a good clean protein, eggs, salmon, chicken, whatever. Right. That's a great start to your day because you're getting your healthy fats, you're getting your protein, you're getting your nutrients. Then your second or third meals of the day are some more green leafy salad, some more vegetables, and along those lines.
Right. Good. So I chart in I think you do as well. I chart in on my calories and I look at my macros as long as a little pie chart that comes up. So when I eat a lot of avocados and salmon, obviously the fat portion of it is higher, but that's the good fats. I mean, we can't get tied up too much in that fat because we want
like anything else, it's ebbs and flows. Some days you're gonna, like you said, you had more avocado and salmon one day, and the next day you're just doing avocado. So it kind of all evens out. But the point is, if you think of the trans fatty acids and how dangerous they are, and you eliminate all of those from your diet, you're going to see not only increased health that's noticeable, and you're going to see yourself lose body fat as well.
Yeah. And again, you're going to I really think you retrain the way you look at food. Like you're saying, okay, I'm going to look at food like I've got choices here. I want to put in food that tastes good to me, but I want to make sure that the foods I'm putting in are healthy for me too. I'm not going to eat that donut. I'm not going to eat the store-bought muffin. Right. And those are the kinds of stuff that gets you in trouble.
Yeah. So you were on Survivor. So you lived in that environment.
Yeah.
And I think anybody put in that environment understands right away that your food choices are very limited.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it's either something that's grown out of the ground or an animal. Right. So in the wild, there are no ring dings and trans fatty acid sticks of margarine. So
It's true. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And you realize that pretty quickly that coconut is a diuretic too.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I don't think I ate too much coconut before, but I realized that pretty quickly.
Coconut oil is also a really healthy fat.
Yeah. All right, here, Barry, one of our loyal listeners. I was watching a cooking show yesterday, and the person said she never used vegetable or olive oil, but used coconut oil instead. Never heard of it before. Have you?
Yeah, coconut oil is a very, very healthy source of fats, and it's to taste though. I mean, olive oil, if you get a good quality extra virgin olive oil, it's very good for you. Coconut oil is also really great, and it depends on what kind of taste you want though.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Barry, if you want to get good, I see coconut oil all the time at Costco. I haven't tried it yet. Does that taste as good?
No, it just tastes like coconut. So what I do with coconut oil, so I take my blender and take 3 avocados.
Nobody's going to be buying coconut oil now, Diana.
Yeah, you're very honest, Diana. Yeah. But here's how you jazz it up a bit, Diana. So I put 3 avocados in my blender, put a little bit of coconut oil. Then I put in cacao powder, right? It's like the organic cacao powder. I blend it, stick it in a freezer, and it's like pudding.
Huh.
It's really good.
Yeah. You have 3 avocados, 3 full avocados?
Well, I won't eat the whole thing in one serving.
Oh, okay.
Probably about an avocado and a half in each serving. Yeah.
I tell you, I don't know if we talked about this now. I learned, so I get my avocados to the ripeness I want, and then I put them, scoop them out. Get the halves, and then I freeze them.
Yeah.
And same thing I do with my bananas with the skin on them. I freeze them. Now, when you thaw them out, and if you want to use them for something else, they're not as good because they get all gushy. But for me to use in my smoothies, you throw them right in there, frozen. Perfect. They're fantastic. Yeah.
I used to keep the organic blueberries that you could buy them in the packet and keep them in there and just toss them in there.
Definitely. That's the thing with avocados. That's the only bad thing, right? Once they go bad, like they go bad right away.
Before I just looked at mine for today, and I got to plan out. I got to do 2 right now because they're pretty small. I mean, the organic ones are only maybe about that big. When you see something this big, it's GMO.
Right. GMO. What's GMO?
That's a modified. It's a genetically modified. It's
yes.
fake food. Like if you go into a store now, you'll see. If you're not in the organic aisle, if you look at the regular aisle, you'll know they're all GMO when every apple looks the same.
I never thought about that. That's right too. Yeah. And you don't like because it changes the structure of the.
Yeah, I mean it's genetically modified, so I don't know how great that can be. And it's also the thing with eating organic fruits and vegetables, it's expensive, but you're not getting all the pesticides.
Right. How confident are you? How confident are you that there are no pesticides? I grew up on a farm.
On organic?
Right? No, we weren't organic, but I just think to myself, how do they determine that it's like some of these 1,000-acre farms? How do they know for sure that farm is not?
They don't, but the certification process is very expensive to be able to put an organic label on, and that's why they're more expensive. Even pasta. Some people may think they're gluten intolerant, and they're really not gluten intolerant. What they're intolerant or getting sick from is the Roundup that they use. It's a chemical pesticide. The reason I know this is Beth thought she was gluten intolerant for years. Went to Italy, had organic pasta, and they grow their own wheat. There was no Roundup on it. She was fine. Came home, did the same thing. So when you're buying commercial spaghetti or pasta or whatever, it's probably the wheat they use has Roundup, which is I think is glyphosate, and it's cancer causing, and it will destroy your stomach.
Well, apparently Diane is not working in the coconut industry. I also bought coconut flour just to try it. It ended up in the trash. And Diane's fired up today. There, I use almond flour now for a lot of stuff.
That's good. Good as well. And brown rice also has a flour. They make a brown rice flour.
Yeah, I've really gotten into my chickpea pasta. I make my own hummus now with the chickpeas and all that. Man,
it's good stuff. Yeah,
that's good stuff. All right, so our lesson today, what we learned was about the slow training. Again, you explained the basic concepts very well and what it does for you. So, like Mark said, it's not something you want to do all the time, but maybe a couple times a week, incorporate it into your training.
If you're an athlete, you probably don't want to use this too much. As you and I were discussing earlier, what I would do though is you could do like 5 slow reps and then 10 pretty quick reps. So you're not, you're reminding your body to be explosive is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Perfect. Good deal. All right. And once again, like we will right up to the event, August 7th. Am I
August
correct?
7th.
Swim across the Hudson. So it'll be the third annual one. Mark and I will be involved watching as about 150 Navy SEALs and some other people will be swimming across the Hudson. And once again, I really encourage everybody. It's a fantastic event if we're allowed to go to it, if they open it up.
I think we will. Looks like we will.
Yeah. Either way, either at the start in New Jersey or in Lower Manhattan when it ends. Either way, it's
the first year. So depending, and I have to give a call today actually, but the first year we did it, we had a escorting sightseeing boat for family and friends or anybody that wanted to follow the whole swim across the river. Last year, as you know, was different because of COVID, but I have a feeling we'll probably be providing that as well this year.
Cool.
So I'll let everybody know. Yeah.
And again, it's to raise money for the GI Go Fund, which helps.
GI Go Fund out of Newark, New Jersey. They're a veterans charity, do an immense amount of work for homeless veterans and just veterans in general. They have in their office in Gateway 1, they have a lab for transitioning servicemen and women to come in and they will help them in the lab find a job with their skill set. So if you're a helicopter mechanic in the Air Force, you go to the lab, they'll look to find you a job in an airport.
Good. Great group. And again, this is Mark's little baby too here as well. The New Jersey Generals. Any veterans out there?
New Jersey Warriors.
What did I say? Oh,
yeah, Generals were the football team. That was Donald Trump's football team. Herschel
That's
Walker.
right. Oh, okay. Yeah. So any veterans that are in the New Jersey area that want to go out and have some fun playing hockey, contact Mark.
Yeah, get a hold of me because we have a great program and we're trying to help as many veterans as we can. So if you play hockey,
right.
Or you want to play hockey, hit me up.
And here's a little bit of a news flash too that Barry's providing for us too. Who heard Ron Greshner will be one of the lifeguards for the swim. So
yeah, the rescue swimmer they call him.
That's right.
He'll be with the rescue swimmers. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. He'll do it. He'll get it done. All right, guys. Good to see you again, Mark. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great week.